Okay, so when you think of Romeo and Juliet, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Probably the greatest love story of all time, right? Well, what if I told you that's not really what it's about? At its heart, this play is a tragedy about hate. In this explainer, we're going to dig deep and peel back all those layers. We'll look at the feud, the mistakes, the everything that makes this story so much more than just two teenagers falling in love. Listen to this. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. I mean, wow, these are literally some of the first words Shakespeare gives us. He's not easing us in with romance, no, he's dropping us right into a war zone. He's telling us from the get-go that this city, Verona, is so poisoned by this old feud that normal people are getting their hands dirty with their neighbor's blood. This is the world Romeo and Juliet are born into, a world that's going to shape them and, yeah, ultimately destroy them.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at Verona's vicious feud. Then, we'll meet our star-crossed lovers. After that, we'll dive into the big ideas: love, hate, and fate. We'll even decode some of that tricky Shakespearean language. And finally, we'll get to the heart of it. Why does this play still matter so much? Okay, first up, Verona's vicious feud. Before we even get to Romeo and Juliet, we have to understand the world they live in. Because Verona isn't just a backdrop, you know? It's like a character in itself, and it's driven by one single powerful force. And here it is, the Montagues versus the Capulets. This is the engine of the whole story. If you're born a Montague, you hate the Capulets. If you're born a Capulet, you hate the Montagues. That's it. There's no in-between, no let's just get along. It's baked into your DNA from day one. And the craziest part, Shakespeare never tells us why they hate each other. This ancient grudge is so old that nobody even remembers how it started. And honestly, that's the whole point. The hate is just there. It's a tradition. For the younger generation, family honor is everything. And that means fighting in the streets, disrupting the whole city, all for a reason no one can even name. So, into this absolute pressure cooker of hate, our two main characters are born. Let's zoom in now on this pair of star-crossed lovers and see how their story unfolds. Okay, you have to get your head around this because it's kind of mind-blowing. The entire story, from the party where they first meet to the balcony scene, the secret marriage, the deaths, all of it happens in just 5 days. Not 5 months or 5 weeks, 5 days. It's a total whirlwind, a blur of passion and chaos. And that speed is so important because it shows you how incredibly impulsive everyone is and just how fast things can go from zero to total disaster. And then we get this line, "A plague o' both your houses." This is it. This is the moment the whole play pivots. It's screamed by Romeo's best friend Mercutio right as he's dying. And here's the kicker. Mercutio isn't even a Montague or a Capulet. He's just a guy who gets caught in the crossfire of their stupid feud. So when he curses both their houses, it feels less like an angry outburst and more like a prophecy. Like he's sealing their fate right then and there. You know, Mercutio is so much more than just a sidekick. He's the funny one, the cynical one. He's the voice of reason in a story that's all about crazy emotions. So when Tybalt kills him, it's a huge deal. Romeo, completely wrecked with grief, goes after Tybalt for revenge, kills him, and boom, he's banished. Mercutio's death is the domino that topples all the others. It's the catalyst that sends the whole story spiraling down. So, was this all just fate? Well, not exactly. The characters themselves add plenty of fuel to the fire. I mean, look at them. You've got Romeo, who is all emotion, zero thought. He just acts. Then there's Juliet. She's incredibly brave for defying her family, but it's a super risky path. The friar? Good intentions, terrible plan. It's like a house of cards. And Tybalt, he's just pure aggression, the feud walking around in a human body. Each one of them is like a lit match in a room full of dynamite. Okay, so we've got the story, we've got the characters. Let's pull back now and look at the big picture. What are the huge ideas Shakespeare is really exploring here? Let's talk love, hate, and fate. This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Who's to blame? And the thing is, there's no easy answer. You could totally argue it was all fate, that they were doomed from the start. Or you could point the finger at the feud, this toxic environment they grew up in. But then, what about their own bad choices? And what about the adults who completely failed them? The reality is, they all get a piece of the pie. The blame is spread all around. And that leads us right into the biggest debate of the whole play, fate versus free will.
Right from the prologue, Shakespeare calls them star-crossed lovers, which makes it sound like their tragic end was written in the stars, totally unavoidable. But think about it. At every single step, they make choices. They choose to get married secretly. Romeo chooses to fight Tybalt. Juliet chooses to take that potion. So, were they puppets of destiny, or did they make their own mess? Shakespeare, pretty cleverly, leaves it up to us to decide.
And yeah, we call it a love story, but it's not just about one kind of love. Of course, you have the intense, all-consuming romantic love between Romeo and Juliet. But there's also the love of friendship, that fierce loyalty between Romeo and Mercutio. And there's that complicated, messy family love. What the play really shows us is that love, in all its different shapes and sizes, is an unbelievably powerful force. It can lead to incredible beauty, but it can also cause total and utter chaos.
All right, we can't talk about Shakespeare without talking about, well, the way he talks, the language. I know, it can feel a little intimidating at first, but trust me, once you get the hang of a couple of key things, it all starts to click. Okay, first up is this fancy-sounding term, iambic pentameter. It sounds way more complicated than it is. All it is a rhythm. Seriously, just think of a human heartbeat. Da-dum. That's an iamb. Penta means 5. So, iambic pentameter is just 5 of those heartbeats in a row. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. That's it. Let's try it with a famous line. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? You hear it. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. That rhythm is the heartbeat of the entire play. It gives the words this incredible musical flow. And once you train your ear to hear it, you'll start noticing it all over the place. But it's not just about rhythm. Shakespeare had a whole bag of tricks. He uses metaphors all the time, right? Like when Romeo says Juliet is the sun. He also uses soliloquies. That's when a character is alone on stage, basically thinking out loud, so we get to hear their inner thoughts. And then there's his genius use of dramatic irony. That's when we, the audience, know a secret that the characters don't. The best and most painful example? At the end, we know Juliet's just asleep. We know it, but Romeo doesn't. And having to watch him make that final, tragic choice, it's absolutely brutal. So, we've got the plot, the big ideas, the fancy language, but let's ask the big question. Why are we still talking about this play more than 400 years after it was written? What's in it for us today? If you're ever trying to wrap your head around the play or, cram for a test, think of it like this. It all starts with conflict. That ancient grudge is the foundation for everything. That leads directly to the theme of fate. Were the star-crossed lovers ever really free? And running through it all is that classic youth versus age battle. The kids just don't think the adults get it. Those are the 3 pillars holding the whole thing up. When you get right down to it, the reason this story has stuck around for so long is that the stuff it's about is, well, timeless. That feeling of passionate, overwhelming first love, we get that. The destructive power of hatred and prejudice, we see that around us all the time. And that terrible feeling of regret after you've done something rash without thinking, we've all been there. It just taps into something fundamentally human. So, I'll leave you with this to chew on. Imagine for a second if Romeo and Juliet had smartphones, right? The whole final tragedy happens because of a missed message. A simple text, hey, BTW, the potion is fake, don't freak out, could have changed everything. Would their story even be a tragedy? Or would their feud have just gone viral and exploded in a whole new 21st century way? It's a fun question to think about, and it really shows you how this old story can still make us think.